Australia has consistently turned out top-class professional cyclists. One of the more recent ones was Simon Gerrans, who wouldn't have even started cycling without encouragement from Phil Anderson, the first non-European to wear the yellow jersey, and Gerrans' neighbor. Anderson, and many others, probably never predicted the success Gerrans would end up having. A two-time national champion, stage wins at every Grand Tour, multiple monument winner, and a complete Australian legend, Gerrans was incredibly consistent and successful. And here are just 4 of the wins that made him one of the best Australian cyclists of all time. Milan San Remo is a monument that any kind of rider can, and has, won. Gerrans, though, despite his style matching the parkour well, has raced here only once, and finished outside of the top 100. He's shown one-day racing promise, though, having finished 3rd in the 2011 Amstel Gold. This year, in 2012, he's racing with the goal of making it onto the top step of a classic, both for him and for his new team, the Australian-based Orica Green Edge. He already won the national championship this year, putting the weight of a nation's expectations on his shoulders. The Green Edge is also lining up with last year's winner on the start list, Matthew Goss. Their mission is twofold: deliver Goss to the finish, and have Gerrans follow any moves on the Poggio to keep their odds of winning high. If you've never seen a Milan San Remo before, the 2012 edition largely follows the same script. On the Poggio, an attack by a GC rider or climber goes, and this year, it's Vuelta winner Vincenzo Nibali. He's followed quickly by Gerrans, and then all are joined by Fabian Cancellara, world time trial champion, former Milan San Remo winner, and all-around unit. Cancellara toes the trio at max pace over the Poggio and down into San Remo. Truthfully, Gerrans might be in the best spot. He's certainly faster in the closing meters of a race than Nibali, but is he faster than Spartacus? Gerrans swings out to the right around Cancellara to find out. And he is. Now a monument winner, Gerrans takes home a huge win for the country, the team, and himself. Gerrans has won at the Tour de France before, a stage way back in 2008, battling back after being dropped in the final climb to win the sprint with the breakaway, softening the blow Australia took when Cadel Evans lost the yellow jersey that day. Moving to the present day of 2013, we're at stage 3 of the Tour de France on the Isle of Corsica. It's a rolling profile today, with an assumed sprint finish for Lysa Gerrans or Peter Sagan. Green Edge knows this, and spends the day and the last few kilometers driving the race, aiming for the team's first stage win. As they enter the final few hundred meters, it's Daryl Impey leading Gerrans, and the two pull alongside Peter Sagan and his Cannondale teammate, squeezing between the barriers and the rider, utilizing as much momentum as possible. Gerrans lets a small gap now open between he and his leadout man, so when he starts his sprint, he can take advantage of the aerodynamic slingshot effect. Sagan is just as fast without it, approaching quickly, but he runs out of the road as Gerrans takes the win. Another demonstration of how good his racecraft is. That year, he'd even get a day in yellow after Green Edge took the team time trial on stage 4. The last spring classic of 2014 was, as it always is, Liège, Bastogne, Liège. In fact, it's the 100th edition of the race, and Gerrans is looking to make history by being the first Aussie winner of the classic. Green Edge works hard all day for the Australian national champion, who for his part stays completely out of trouble, never touching the front of the race. It really isn't until the final kilometer where Gerrans makes his presence known when it truly matters. At the front of the race, a few seconds ahead are Caruso and Pozzovivo. From the main group behind, Daniel Martin attacks. There's not an immediate response until Philippe Gilbert master of the Ardennes, stops hesitating and makes a move to close the gap. This gets Alejandro Valverde to respond, and Gerrans. They approach the final corner to the finish, and the situation is currently Martin and Caruso in the lead, and barely a second behind are Pozzovivo, Valverde, Mikel Kwiatkowski, and Gerrans. Martin eats it in the corner, taking him out of contention. Gerrans is the first to launch the sprint, and he is faster than everyone else. No one can even attempt to come around him as he crosses the line, taking home another classic victory. Quote, "To win any Liège-Bastogne-Liège is very special, but the fact it's a 100th edition really puts my name in the history of the race. It's a real honor. Our team got some fantastic results in the 100th edition of the Tour last year, and now to do that again, maybe that's a good omen." In 2014, at the end of the season, Gerrans was ranked 3rd in the world. In 2015, he had no results to speak of, a complete wash of a season. This meant 2016 was a planned revenge tour of Gerrans, and to start it off, he won the national championship again. Next on the agenda, the Tour Down Under, the biggest Australian race, and one Gerrans has won 3 times. Green Edge is yet again coming into a race with 2 goals. Have Gerrans win the overall, and have Caleb Ewan win the sprint stages. They succeeded, winning 4 out of the 6 stages that week, 2 by Ewan and 2 by Gerrans. The first of Gerrans' wins was on stage 3. In a reduced bunch finish after a day of climbing, he took a high-speed downhill sprint victory and claimed the leader's jersey. He went back-to-back on stage 4, winning in a very similar fashion. All that was left to worry about was stage 5, and the finish up Wollonga Hill. All Gerrans would need to do is defend the jersey. And he did, limiting his losses to Richie Porte, who is a much more talented climber. After the flat stage 6, it was official. Simon Gerrans won his 4th Tour Down Under, an absolute record and a redemption. Quote, "I think every one of my 4 victories has been equally important, and to be totally honest, this one feels just as good as the first one did." It felt like every year, Gerrans wrote a love letter to his country by prioritizing the Tour Down Under. And overall, Simon Gerrans was a top talent, with great results and incredible racecraft and intelligence, as demonstrated by his post-racing career. And we have to wonder, will there ever be another rider like Gerrans from Australia?